Okay, so yesterday we started about the big O notation, and this is the concept to understand the complexity of our coding function or algorithm which we have written. So yesterday we did two of the big O notation. One was O of the constant, that is it's called O1, and we also saw O of linear, that is O of n. Today we'll go through more examples of these two, and we'll see some other big O notation like ON square and others. Okay, so let's see. Let's create a function. I will call it as func1, and it will take some n number, and the job of this function is to find the sum of the numbers. So for example, sum of the numbers means if I pass 10, it will calculate 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus dot plus 10. So it will calculate from 1 to 10. If I pass 100, it will calculate 1 to 100. That is the job of this function. So now let's see how we can do that. I will create a variable that is called the sum. Initially I will give the sum equal to 0, and then I will use the for loop, and I will go var I equal to 0, I less than n, or I will start with the 1. Okay, and I is less than or equal to n, and I plus plus. I am starting with the 1 because it should start with the 1 and end with the n. That's the reason I am starting with the 1 and ending with the n. And here remember I am putting less than and equal to sign so that it should reach up till n. And then I'll start with a curly bracket, and here I will say sum is equal to sum plus I. So whatever value of I is there, I will add that to the sum. Okay, yeah, sorry. So what I did, I created a sum, and then I loop through the number from 1 to n, whatever n I pass. Then I say sum equal to sum plus I, and in the end I will return sum. Okay, so this is the function 1. Now let's calculate the operation for this function. So I am looping this through n times. I am going from 1 to n, so I am going through n times. So the complexity of this function, big O notation of this function, is O of n. Okay, so now we will see another function which will do the same work, and but with different way. So let's create another function. You don't need to remember the function now, though we have done it many times. But right now, just understand the big O notation, what I am trying to explain you. No need to understand or no need to think on how this function is working. So only thing you have to remember that since it is going from 1 to n, so the complexity of this function is O of n. Now let's create another function. I will name it as func2. Now I will do this in a different way, but the result will be same, the sum, finding the sum. So we did few days back that we can calculate the sum of numbers using the formula, and the formula is this: n into n plus 1 divided by 2. So this formula will take n and it will put into this formula, and it will give the sum. So here we don't have the for loop like this, and whatever n we are passing, it will do some mathematical calculation on that and it will return it. So let me return it, this one. I can also assign this to sum, and I could have written it like this. Okay, so these are the two functions I created to do the same thing. Now let's see what is the complexity of this function. So in this function, one is this assignment operator. So let's calculate how much is the complexity. So one operation is assignment operator. Second operation is this multiplication. So let's see 2. Third is this addition. Let's say 3. Fourth is this division, that is 4. So here, if we pass any number, but operation is only 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have only 4 operations in this function. If you pass one n as a 1 or n as a million, there will be only 4 operations in this function. But whereas in this function, if you pass 1, it will run this loop for one time. But if you pass 1 million, this loop will run 1 million times. So it will increases based on the n which we have provided. And that is the reason this is of the complexity On. So what will be the complexity of this function? What will be the complexity of this function? Ali is saying On, Anand is saying On, Sonu Singh is saying O1. So the answer of this is, though we are passing n, but it has only 4 operations. Since it has 4 operations, that means it is constant, because we know number of operations to be done in this one. Though n is passed, but the operations is not dependent on the n. We have only 4 operations. This operation does not increases by putting the large number of value for n. So this has big O notation of O1. Why it is 1? Because O of constant, it is called O of constant. Why it is constant? Because we have only 4 operations. So irrespective of n, even if it is small or even if it is big, the operations is only 4. Since we can count this operation and this operation is not related to n, therefore this is O1 complexity. Now we will run both the function and see how much time each one take when I execute it. Okay, so now I will write few statements. You don't have to worry about those statements, because those statements are to understand how much time it takes to run this function 1 or function 2. So you don't have to remember that and you don't have to worry about. Only thing you need to see how much time this function is taking and this function is taking it. So I will run something. For example, I will say var time1 is equal to performance.now. Don't worry about this statement. And I will put another one for time2, and this one will be also performance.now. Don't worry about what I am writing now, because this I haven't told you and this is not important. This is only to understand how much time this function is taking and how much time this function is taking. And then what I will do console.log of T2. I will say T2 minus T1 divided by 1000. Okay, so this one I will check how much time it is taking, and I will put this function function 1 inside it. So we have to only see, what happens, how much time this function 1 takes when I pass some different numbers, and how much time function 2 takes. So I'll do the console.log of this function 1. So I'm passing n as 10, and then I will check how much time it is taking it. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, let me press enter. So you will see the sum is coming as 55 if I am passing function 1, and time is taking 0.002 seconds. Let's try to increase the number now. I will put 100. Okay, now let's see. Now the sum is coming like this, but time is decreased. This time is, this 110 are not very far, so this time will go up and down depending on what time we are calling it. Let's try to put bigger number, 100,000. So I put 100,000 and it's taking 0.02 seconds because it is looping 100,000 times, and it is giving me this result. Let me increase this number more. Let's put 1 crore, that is 10 million. Okay, let's put that one. So I put 10 million, and I'm getting, this is the sum, and this is the something time it is taking. So the time it is taking 0.008 seconds. Let's try to increase one more 0 or 2 more 0. So now it is taking 0.74 seconds, and this is the sum it is coming. Let's do one more time. Again it is taking 0.74 seconds, and this is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros. That is about 900 crores in Indian type, and about 1,000 million in millions. Okay, it is taking 0.74 seconds. So it is looping for those many times, whatever number I have passed it. Now I will take this last one, and I will try to use this function 2 instead of function 1. So I'm using function 2. So this number of digit is same, but I am calling function 2. Let's see what happened now. If you see, if I'm using function 2, though exact number is not same because of this formula, and this number is too big, so sometimes this exact number is not coming same, the sum of the number. But if you see, the time taken is 0.001 if I'm putting this much number, whereas here I am getting 0.7 seconds. Let's try to increase 2 more zeros. Even if I increase 2 more 0 with the function 2, though it is coming the total sum in E, that is there are 21 0 more after this, and the time taken is 0.001. So irrespective of this number, if I am putting this number or this number, the time taken is very small because the function 2 is using only 4 operations, 1, 2, 3, 4. Even if you increase this number to as much you want, whereas function 1 loops through all the number n and then find the sum. So it is on, so it has to go on times. If I put 1 million, it has to go 1 million times this looping, whereas in the function 2 it goes very small amount of time, so it is O1. Let's try to put this number for the function 1 and see what will happen. So I put function 1. So you have to wait till it completes. I divide by 1000 because this is in the milliseconds and we have to convert into the seconds. So I divide by 1000. Still it's going. Still it's performing. Whereas this was completed in 0.001 seconds. And here it's still going on. I don't know how much more time it will take. I'm waiting. Come. Because I put too many zeros, it's trying to perform that one. Yeah, we have to wait for some time. Okay, let's wait it for some time and we'll do some other thing before till it goes. So you will see that this one takes a lot of time if the number n is too much high, whereas O1 takes very less time because it is only the constant 4 operations to be done irrespective of the n whatever you pass it. Okay, now I got 74 seconds. Okay, so we got 74 seconds here and here we got 0.001 seconds. So this is the comparison that this O1 is much better than this ON. Okay, so that is the two things which I want to tell you. Now I will give you one problem. You have to tell me what kind of big O notation it is. Okay, so this is the task. So before doing the first problem, I just want to tell you one formula which we use in JavaScript. I will say math.max. So max is a function which will calculate if I pass two value, for example 2, 3. So max will tell this 3 number is bigger. Okay. So what max will do? Max will tell you if 2 is bigger or 3 is bigger. If I pass this as a 20, then it is giving me 20 because 20 is the bigger. So to find the bigger number out of the two number, we use math.max. Another example is math.min. If I put min, so it will tell me which number is smaller of the two numbers. So 20 and 3, I am getting 3. But if I pass 2 and 3, I will get 2. So whatever is the minimum, I will get it. Now keeping this thing in mind, let's do one function. You have to tell me what is the big O notation for this one. Func3, I will put it name func3, I will pass n. Now I will go with the for loop and I will say var I equal to 1, I less than equal to n, less than equal to math.max phi comma n. So I'm putting max. So whatever number you pass, it will find which one is the bigger, phi is bigger or n is bigger. If n is bigger, it will take that number, and if phi is bigger, it will take phi number, and it will go that many times here in the loop. So previously we are passing n here, now we are using math.max number, and I will say I plus plus, and each time I will do console.log of I is I. I'm not finding sum, I'm just printing I. Okay, so this is the function I created. Now who can tell me what is the big O notation of this function? Tell me the big O notation of this function. Kate is saying ON. Let's see what others are saying. Ali is saying ON. Anshi is saying ON. Tasty is saying ON. Ola is saying both answer. You cannot have both answer. There is only one answer, ON and O1. You cannot have both. Complexity of the function can be only one. Either it is ON or it is O1. You have to consider the worst case. You cannot say, okay, if I pass n as 1, it is O1. You cannot say like that. It is ON. Now why it is On? Because if I check the MathMax of phi or n, so if I pass, for example, 100, I will get MathMax as 100. So n is, so it is actually, though I'm passing math.max, it is actually going to the n only, because it is looping through n times if we are increasing the number of n. So only if the n is less than 5, then we go only 5 times. Otherwise, it goes to n times. Since it goes to n times, therefore the complexity of this is O of n. Okay, so right now. Okay, this error is because this is not a valid number. Okay, so what is the complexity of this function? On. Let's write down another function. Instead of max, I will say min. Yeah. What is the complexity of this one? Instead of max, I am putting minimum. Ali is saying O1. Ola is saying On. Anand is saying O1. Nikhil is saying O1. Sonu is saying O1. Only Ola is saying On. That means still he has to understand what is On. So when I say math.min, min means either of these two, whichever is smaller, will be taken into consideration and bigger will not be taken into consideration. So if I pass n as a 1 million, but then also this will go only 5 times because we have to choose the minimum of the two numbers. So one is 5, one is million, it will go only 5 times. Since it will go maximum of 5 times, so it goes as a constant because 5 is a constant number, and therefore it is of the complexity of O1, that is a constant. Okay, now I will give you one expression On plus 1. Now you have to choose from the answer which I will give you. So this is the question only, On plus 1. Now you have to tell me which is the best answer which is near to this number, near to this complexity. So the one is, I will say O of constant. Okay, 2 is, you have to choose the option. 2 is O of n. 3 is O of, still we have not done the log n, but I will put log n. Maybe someone knows it, they can answer it. O of n log n. And phi is O of n square. So I will write n square is like this. And 6 is O of n plus 10, plus 1. Okay. So you have to choose out of 6 options, what is the correct option if the question is On plus 1. Because this is the On plus 1, this is the question, this is the real complexity of a function. But what will be the answer you will give for this one? Whether this one is resembled to O1 or On or O log n or On log n or On square On plus 1. What is the right answer for this one? Give me the number. 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me the number. Okay, let me check the number 1 second. Let me write on this. Okay, Sonu is saying O of 1, that is the number 1. Ali is saying number 2. Kate is saying 2. Ola is saying 2. Desti is saying 2. Anshi is saying ON, that is 2. Only one person is saying O1. So always remember, you have to think of the bigger number. If n is a bigger number, so 1 will not be considered. This constant will be removed and the complexity will be considered as O of n. So the real complexity of this problem is O of n. That is the 2 is the right answer. Because we don't say On plus 1 as On plus 1. We don't say On plus 1 as O1. N plus 1, we always have to skip plus 1, that is this constant part, and we have to consider On plus 1 as On. So On is the right answer. Okay, so those who have the correct answer, they can have the drink after the class. Just go in your kitchen, get some drink because you gave the right answer. Okay, next problem. Okay, so answers are same. Let me clear it. So answers are same, the question will be different now. Okay, let me put the question. So question is O of 100 into n. Okay, so this is the question, what is the exact right answer for this one? Ali is saying O1. How is saying 2? Nikhil is saying 2. Anand is saying 2. Desti is 2. Anshi is saying 2. Sonu is saying 2. Okay. Let me give you the answer. So only one person said O of 1, that is Ali. So I need to explain this. So though he has seen the 100 and he considered it as 1, so that is not the case. You have to think about this. You know, constant, if you have constant, this is actually nothing but the 100n. Yesterday I explained you, even if you have 10n, 2n, 3n, 5n, it is exactly equal to On. You don't have to worry about the constant if we have the n. So you have to take the highest number which we see in the equation and you have to ignore this constant value. So when I say 100n, this 6 is wrong because 100n is not a right bigO notation. So right answer bigO notation is On. Because n is the biggest. We don't have n square or log n or anything. So n is the biggest in this one. We have to ignore this constant. So the right answer is On. Okay, let's give another one. O of 25. I have O of 25 and the answers are here. I will remove this right answer. And here I will say O of 25. What is the right answer for this one? 1, 1. Kate is saying 1. Ali is saying 1. Sonu is saying 1. Desti is saying 1. Chris is saying 1. Right. So we have O of 25. So I told you, if it is a constant, 100, 1 million, 1,000, 200, you have to ignore the constant and you have to always say O1. So the right answer is O1. Everybody got right answer, so I'm not explaining more about this one. Now next one is little tricky because I have not done much on it, but once you will see the result of this one, you will understand the problem also. Okay, so let's remove this one. Let's remove, instead of this, I will put 3. Okay, so these are the answers. Let me put the question. So question is, I have n square, that is this n square, and I have n cube. We have the plus n between. We have n cube. This is the n cube. So the function is having one for loop. There are two for loops, so we have the n square, and then we have the three for loops, so we have n cube. Now, what will be the complexity from this for this two equation? Some of you may know because I have not done detail of that one, and some of you may not know. So Sonu is saying 2. Let's see what other. Anand is saying ON. Ali 2. Maybe any other answer? How is saying 6. Ola is saying 6. Maybe those who have said 2, they can reconsider it and they can give the answer. Nikhil is saying 5. Based on the answer 6 and 5, those who have given 2, they can reconsider it and they can change their answers if they want. Okay. So I will give you the answer for this one. So the thing is that whenever you get the complexity, you have to check which is the maximum complexity we have. Yesterday, I showed you one diagram, and that diagram was saying which one is the more complex. So this one is the less complex, this is the most complex. So if you go with the n square, that will come here, n square. And next one is the polynomial, that is n cube, n raised to 4, n raised to 5. So if you consider n square and n cube is coming in this part, polynomial. Therefore, this n cube is the more complex than n square. So when we have two numbers, we have to take the more complex, that is n cube, and we have to ignore n square. So when I give this number, you have to say choose the sixth number because that is the most complex in all of out of these two. You cannot say n square because we have more complex big O notation n cube also in this equation. So therefore n square will not work because this will be hidden, this will be ignored because of this one. So in this one, the right answer is sixth number. This is the right answer because this is the most complex out of all of them, out of these two, and therefore we have to choose ON cube, the complexity. Because n square is lower complex, n cube is higher complex. If I would change this from 2 to 6, then the right answer will be O of n raised to 6. Because either in these two, this is the more complex, sixth number is more complex, so this will be the right one. But since we have 2 here, so the right answer will be n cube, and we have to ignore the n square. If we have another n here, then we have to ignore n also, n square also. This is the n cube complexity. If we have a complex here, constant here, like 100 plus n square plus n cube, then also we have to ignore all these three and we have to consider n cube as the complexity of this equation. Okay, hope this is clear. Let's see a few more examples. Okay, let me write down. So let me first write down the answers and then I will put the question. So the question is O of n plus n plus n plus n. What will be the big O notation for this? Anand is saying 2 number. 2 number, 2 number. Okay, Sonu is saying 3 number. Okay, so log n. Let me explain this log n. Since Sonu has said 3 number, everybody has said 2 number. The correct answer there is 2 number. The reason is n plus n plus n plus is actually 4n. and in 4n we have to ignore the 4 and we have to take only n. So the right answer is this one. Let's talk about the log n. So log n something means something like this. Example of log n. I have a var for loop with var I equal to 0, and I will say I less than equal to n divided by 2, I plus plus. So what I'm doing, I'm going till n divided by 2. That means I pass 100, then I will go 50 times, because I will not go till n. I will go half of the n. That means if I go till 100 times, if n is 100, then if I go 100 times, it is on. But if I'm going to half of the n, or 1/3 of the n, or 1/4 of the n, then it is not exactly 100, it is less than 100. Whenever we have less than something n which I am sending it, then this becomes the log n. So we will take this as O of log n, because we are not going to 100, we are going less than 100. Whenever we go less than the n number, it becomes log n. Okay, we'll talk about this 4 number tomorrow. I don't want to put everything today in your brain, but let's think of this log n means we go not exactly n number, we go little less than n number. That is called O log n. Whereas in case of 4n, we are going more than n. That means it is On is the right answer. Okay, let's delete everything. Okay, I'll keep this. Let me put question here. Okay, let me put the question here. I will put a function. You have to tell me what is the right number. So check this function. What is the right number? Two. Anchi 2. Okay. Ali is saying 2. Anand is saying 2. Right. I will not wait for that. Since it is passing n, it is going till n, so answer is On. Complexity is On. Let's take another number. Okay. I am doing math.min, n and 10. What is the right answer? Ali is saying 1. Ola is saying 1. Nikhil is saying 1. 1 is the right answer, because no matter what number I send for n, it will go maximum of 10 times. Since it will go a maximum of 10 times, that is a constant number. So O1 is the right answer. So 1 is the right answer. Okay. Let's take another example now. Okay. This is little complex function. So I have this function with this name, and don't worry about this line. It is doing something. I don't want to go into detail of this one. Okay, so don't worry of this one right now. Let's go further. It loops through array.length. So if array is having 10 elements, it will loop through 10 elements, and then if it is divisible by 2, if the number is divisible by 2, we do something. Don't worry about what we do. We do something. That means if it is 2, 4, 6, 8, if the number is 2, 4, 6, 8, we do something. Let me write down. Don't worry about what we are doing. Do something if number is even. This means number is even. Okay, those who don't know, this means number is. If number is even, I do something and I return the new array. So what is the complexity of this one? Don't worry about this part. Ola is saying 3 log n, because he is thinking we are going even numbers. So the thinking is right. But let's see what others think. Since we are doing even number only, so he's thinking it may be the log n. Yeah, which is the logical thinking. But let's see. Ali is saying 2. Any other answer? Sonu Singh is saying 1. Oh, 1 is for different answer. Okay. 2. Sonu Singh 2. The right answer for this is 2. Because no matter we do the even number, but with this line we are looping through all the numbers. So we are going through array.len. That means we are going through n times. We are going through arrays, all numbers. Because of this line, we are actually going through all the elements of the array, and that is the reason this is the ON is the right answer. Okay, let's see some more example. Let me see if I have any other more example. Yeah, that's all I have for today. Let me know if you have any questions.